Gordon McBain, the President-elect of the International Council for Science. Starting next Wednesday, unless something happens, I will be the President, but I would like to welcome my colleagues from our Executive Board who have joined us. I can see David and Sergio and a few others. Oh, there, yes. Anyway, the Executive Board has been meeting today, but they've now joined us for this last discussion. I would like to, first of all, say very much how much, from my point of view and from my position with the Council of Science, how very much we appreciate the work you've done for this, Sir Peter, the role that everyone has played, bring together a really great meeting, and we've heard about that. Thanks, James, for your final summary comments there. I mean, I should say from the Council of Science point of view, we are very, very interested in this. We will formally do some things in our business meetings over the next few days, but I think we very much want to, as we've already informally agreed to these, as you say, well, we will endorse and publish, and we want to continue this process. I could comment that we've already had discussions with OECD a few weeks ago, a teleconference I joined with the staff of OECD, which is just more or less next door in Paris to us. So we are working with them on these aspects. I'd just like to make a couple of comments that I think the idea of major meetings every 2 years is a good idea, and whether they're in the UK or Japan, that can be resolved in due course. One of the key things, as we've talked about in this meeting, is that 2015 is this huge year critically for international agreements, the Hyogo Framework for Action revisions, the Agreement on Sustainable Development Goals, and the 2015 Climate Convention meeting. So if nothing else, having one in 2016 will allow us to, let's say, assess what has happened and not happened in the past year, because I think that would be very much part of an appropriate analysis. I'd just like to comment, though, that I think it's important that we look at having, as you already said, maybe some regionally focused meetings, some topic-focused meetings that occur between the major meetings so that we bring in some of these issues. And I think as the colleague from Cameroon, I'm not sure if he's here now or not, commented on this whole question of values and culture and society. We have issues which I've worked on in the Canadian context of our Inuit people of the Canadian North and their views on climate change and that kind of thing. So I'd just like to say that from a point of view of the International Council for Science, we are very appreciative of what has happened. We're very much keen on moving and working with partners to take this ahead, and we look forward to working with you as this moves ahead, because it is such a critically important area for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Gordon. Just to add a couple of bits of additional information. There's a discussion already underway for, which has been spurred during this week, for a workshop on capacity building and science advice for developing countries. And there's been a couple of organisations volunteer to think about that. There's also a discussion in a more embryonic form of whether the chief science advisors and equivalents, just that small group, should get together to look at the whole issue of the international issue. We already have 2 regional groupings. We have the European grouping, which Anne has set up, and tomorrow is the second meeting of the Asia-Pacific grouping of such people. So it's possible that there's some action at that level. So there's quite a lot of, and I think your point about the SDGs is that we need to be ready to help.
Just a quick comment, if I recall that. Sorry to get back in the line again. Well, she's in the line now too. So I was going to say that there is well, first of all, within the International Council for Science, we also work very closely with the International Social Science Council. And Heidi Hackman, who is its executive director, is number 2 in the line over there. But we have regional offices for the Council of Science in Africa, in Asia Pacific, and in Latin America, Caribbean, and these could be working as part of this system. We also, through the Council of Science and the Social Science, anyway, there's an international program called START International with capacity building. Heidi and I are on its board, Zachary is on its board, and so on. So there's mechanisms we can work together with that extend beyond what we, let's say, might think of. So,
David.
My name's David Skegg. I'm the president of the Royal Society of New Zealand, which is our National Academy for Science, Technology and the Humanities, and we're hosting this XU General Assembly, so I hope that we'll see some of you next week as well. I want to make 2 points. First, to reiterate the congratulations to everyone who's been involved in the planning of this meeting, and in your excellent summing up, you mentioned the possibility of further meetings. And I think one of the decisions to make, you mentioned some of the gaps, like an emphasis on developing countries and so on. I think another decision to make is this effort going to remain restricted to the sort of chief scientific advisors, the sort of central role of such leaders in science advice, and we can almost see a new profession emerging. But of course there are many other people, many other scientists giving advice to governments, not just episodically. I mean, as an epidemiologist working on cancer and the safety of medicines and contraceptives, apart from 7 years of sabbatical leave being a vice-chancellor or president of university, every week I've spent time advising governments on scientific matters, mostly the Ministry of Health, but also other ministries, agriculture, environment, and sometimes the cabinet directly. And of course, people doing my sort of job can either do it well or badly. And actually, almost everything that's been said in these 2 days is relevant to those kind of people as well. So I guess it's quite an important decision to make. Do you stay focused on this new profession of chief scientific advisors, or whatever they're going to be called, or do you broaden it to the whole broader function of those scientists who do give lots of advice to governments? The second point I wanted to make was, biologists who are interested in taxonomy talk about lumpers and splitters. And boy, you international organisations are splitters.
Yeah.
Our Royal Society only recently brought the humanities back into the fold. In 1867, when we were established, they were part of it, and they just got pushed out. And the more I see of other academies, the more fortunate I think that we've got the social sciences and humanities. We occasionally, we have our problems, but with the sort of issues we're dealing with today, we don't need 6 academies, as I think some countries now have. But also, ICSU's done a great job sponsoring this meeting or being involved, but we've also got they've all got acronyms, the IAP, the TWAS, the World Science Academy. We've got the IAC. I've been the president of the Royal Society of New Zealand for 2 years. I'm going to have to go back and find out whether we belong to the Inter-Academy Council or not. I'm not sure. I know we belong to the IAP. I know we belong to ICSU. And we get emails from all these organisations, and people sometimes just put their hands up and say, oh, should we reply to this? Maybe we need to get together and try and get 1 or 2 organisations to represent science and scholarship for the benefit of mankind.
Thank you. Denzel Miller from Tasmania, I think that's close enough. There has been actually quite a stunning silence in the discussions here, and I don't want to appear negative. But our market is directed towards the political decision makers. And I would think if we're going to have another one of the meeting, we need to actually have a political decision maker telling us their story. What do they want from us? How do they use it? What influences their decisions? We are interpreting that with the vast experience we have, and we're probably getting it right most of the time. But if we slip just once, that's to our discredit. And if that could be avoided by understanding what the politicians want or the policymakers want, then we're not going to lose that little bit of, if you like, AAA rating. Thank you.
Just a quick comment on that. Indeed, we tried to deal with that, and then we got fouled up by an election process, which made it difficult. But I think there's another group that's also not been engaged, that some of them are here, that is the policy makers as opposed to the politicians, because they're not the same. And in many ways, it's not the politicians where the challenge is, it's the interplay between the science advisory system and the policy-making system, and get that relationship wrong or not effective, and it will fail even if you can get through to the politician. In most countries, the Sir Humphrey rules.